Fear generally has a crippling effect on both the mind and the body, causing its victim to be immobilized until a force, either internal or external, causes it to move. Today we'll be journeying with one of our clients from a point of being completely afraid of men to absolute liberty from that fear. In one of her previous sessions, she had guilt around manifesting a partner with money. But today she faces a whole different problem as she realizes how big a deal it actually is for her to experience love with a real man. This fear of men makes her act weird if she's around a man that she likes. She suddenly stops being herself and finds herself hiding or going into her head. This makes her mind go crazy with self-criticism. She realizes at some point in the session that there hadn't actually been a time where she had ever felt safe with a man. It's also seen as the session unfolds that she doesn't believe her idea of a balanced man exists. She reveals that every time she manages to feel safe, it's always short-lived because immediately she'll manifest unsafety. She's convinced that it's not a fear of love, but rather a fear of men. And so together we trace back where that fear has come from, the root cause, and we're taken back to an early memory of when the client was just an infant and she saw her dad coming home drunk with all his friends. As she starts to communicate with that infant, she realizes that she was actually judging her father for not being a real man and that she was actually disappointed in who he was. This belief as an infant has pulled through her life right now, and she feels consistently disappointed in men because of who she thinks they should be, thus creating difficulties for her to deeply connect with a man and feel real love. If we can get to that place where Irene can detach from the disappointments and change her feelings for how she sees her dad, then we can change that underlying belief system she has that all men are a disappointment. If we can find a way to bring compassion to how she views their relationship, we can take it to a higher vibration, leading Irene to not broadcast a signal of disappointment when she meets a man, because that's exactly what she'll end up attracting, disappointment in whomever she attracts. You see, how we feel is what we think. What we think is how we feel. And when we change either one of those, a whole new world is unraveled. I'll be narrating this story, including real parts from our session. So let's dive in at the beginning of the session, where I'm using diagnostic phrases to see what that underlying belief system is in the client about this challenge that she's facing in her fear with men. Let's go ahead and dive in. I take her through the I deserve statements, which I use as diagnostic statements to see which one moves the most within her. I ask her to assign a number to each of them to act as a guide as to how much change she experiences throughout the session. I received 4 phrases, which generally come through my intuition, and I see them in my mind's eye as like 3 sentences or 4 sentences that come up in my mind. And I feel these would work well, and I move on to guide her through each of them. So let's just take a breath and say this first one. Repeat out loud after me. I deserve the perfect love.
I deserve the perfect love.
She takes a pause to gauge how that resonates with her being, and she goes on to rate it an 8. And what comes up when you say that out loud?
That I feel that I deserve that, yeah.
This was a really huge improvement from her first session, where we used the same statement, I deserve unlimited love. She initially said it was unbelievable and she had given it a number 2. This is already really great progress, and it shows what impact these sessions together can have on one's underlying thought stream, because when we change that, ultimately we'll change what happens in our real life. By the way, if you'd like to catch that previous episode, then feel free to check out the description link below. Okay, so taking a deep breath in and out, and just say these words out loud. I deserve to be fully supported.
I deserve to be fully supported.
She completes this phrase with her eyes still closed, but then she opens her eyes to explain that somehow she doesn't believe this sentence because something in her is asking, what's the catch? She settles on rating this as a 2. I note her response and we move on to the next phrase. I deserve love with a real man.
I deserve love with a real man.
The client explains that the phrase instantly sparks a certain joy in her, causing her to smile, owing to the fact that this is really what she wants. But somewhere along the line is a frown coming from her belief that such a thing doesn't really exist. She goes on to tell me about the image of what she considers to be a real man, and in her mind's eye, she describes him as being balanced in his energies of masculine and feminine, often how she perceives the Indian men in the tribes.
It's an imbalanced man, so I know what he is, and at the same time, but it doesn't exist.
She rates this phrase between 2 and 3, and she couldn't quite settle on a number. And so just letting that go and coming back into your body, just taking a breath. And let's say this last phrase out loud. I deserve unconditional love.
I deserve unconditional love.
She struggles in her rating, and now, this time, she can't decide between a 6 and a 7. She's experiencing a lot of indecisiveness, which is quite a theme. She explains that if she were to look at it from a spiritual standpoint, then she'd agree and say it's all true. But she says that she also believes that people just haven't reached that stage yet. She goes on to add,
But I can fully feel that I deserve it.
to understand her statement of people are just not there yet, I ask her if she sees herself as spiritually at a place where others are not. She says yes, she feels that's true, but recognizes that is also true for herself. And so it's almost like you have more capability than, you said, others. They're not there. Is there a belief that there are not many conscious men, what you would define as conscious men? She agrees, nodding her head severely, and actually goes on to say that she doesn't believe that there are any real conscious men, especially in her age group. She adds that she really wants a man around the same age as her because she really wants to experience growing older together. We then picked the 2 phrases, I deserve to be fully supported, and I deserve love with a real man, to be our main focus. Then I asked her which of the 2 phrases really stand out for her, and again, she's indecisive about it. I had an idea. Let's take a deep breath in, and wriggle your toes and out. And what if we said, I deserve to be in love with a real man and fully supported? She wholeheartedly agrees that this really resonates with her. Merging the 2 phrases was exactly how she felt, and so our new phrase became, I deserve to be in love with a real man and be fully supported. I asked her how she would rate it between 1 and 10. If she gave it a 1, she meant that nothing in her believed that was true. And if she gave it a 10, she believed that 100% of it was true, and it was a real reality in her life.
I'm far from it, so 1.
I see that there are several threads that we could follow from that phrase, but for me, the most obvious word that was coming up and really gave a pang in my body was the word supported. And so let's just tap into that feeling of being unsupported or feeling unsupported. And let's just trace back to the earliest and most intense experience of when you felt the most unsupported in this lifetime or in previous. I remind her that the language of the higher self is the imagination, so whatever came through was helpful information, whatever sights, sounds, smells, anything. She couldn't get this wrong. The memory that came to her was when she was an infant and she had just been brought home from the hospital the week before. It was during a time of carnival, which is a celebratory season there in Holland where she grew up. Her mum was sitting on the bed holding her as a baby when her dad came in his carnival suit, bringing a whole lot of drunk friends with him that were at the pub. He had been so excited about the arrival of his little daughter, but because of his challenges with alcohol, he focused his celebration in the pub with his friends. This was a great place to start, and the idea now is that we start to communicate with that little infant who's feeling wounded. We do so by using a place that I like to call the field. This is an imaginary place where we can go and create safe containers to communicate with and watch a scene play out, which is often what shows us what our hidden beliefs are and our narratives that are in our system. And so you're in this wide open field. The sun is shining, it's not too hot, it's not too cold, the weather's just right. There's a tree behind you if you need shade, and there's a bag with everything you need in it. And out in front, we're just going to draw the figure 8 out in front of you. And we're going to place that younger self into the figure 8. And then you on the other side is going to step into that other side of the figure 8. So you're on one side and she's on the other. And we're just going to start communicating with that little baby that's had that experience. And just ask her, how is she feeling? And let me know what she says.
So afraid. Afraid. All that unrealness. And at the same time, also the mother who is also sad and also angry.
What's unreal?
The drunk, the booze, alcohol, yeah. Making people different. So a lot of dark energies.
I ask if these dark energies came with her dad as he brought his friends home, and she says yes, they did. And she had also sensed it from her mother when they had walked in. She said she could feel her stomach really cramp as she felt these energies physically in her body. I ask her to draw a circle in the field and just place it anywhere. It doesn't really matter where. We invite her mum to step into that circle by herself, and this allows us to create a container so that we can communicate with the consciousness of her mother. I then ask her to draw another circle in the field, and for that one we're going to place her dad. She does so, and she confirms and lets me know when all has been completed. I then ask her to drop yet another circle with the consciousness of alcohol. This is an important one because when she first saw it, it was embodying all that dark energy and the unrealness. As she closes her eyes and goes about this exercise, she observes that it made her physical legs feel numb as she dropped the alcohol in the circle. And this is important to note. Remember, everything is information. You see, what's happening here is that the mind cannot tell the difference between what is real from what is in our imagination. The body will respond in the same way to what it's seeing. Just like when you're watching a sad movie and you start to cry, our body responds as if it was real. And this is what's happening here. And so let's just check back in with the infant and just ask her how does she feel when she looks at mom?
Confused?
She feels confused, okay. What else?
Also loved, but yeah, I feel loved and confused because I feel her love for me, and I feel her anger and sadness as well. So that makes up the confusion.
She adds that she also sees a split in her, and that everything just makes her feel pity for her mom. What else do you notice about the circle with mom?
It's a very lonely circle. It's a circle of loneliness. It's very hollow.
She adds a further description of the circle, saying it was light in color and empty. We then check in with the infant because this is really the wounded part that was within her that needs the healing and the compassion. We ask that wounded part what she notices about the circle that had her dad and his drunk friends in. How does she feel when she looks at that circle? And when she goes through that process and asks the infant, the word that is returned is betrayed.
He's having a good time. He's really having a good time. But not with me, but with the friends. He's proud as well.
And what else does she notice about the circle?
It's very dark.
What does she notice about her dad?
Emptiness as well.
She takes a pause, focusing more on that circle. And then she realizes that her dad materializes as a child, more like a teenager, just a young boy. She paints a clearer picture by saying he doesn't even look like he could support himself. She starts to see his vulnerabilities. She says the same split which manifested in her mom is also present in her dad. The struggle between wanting a family but doing it so young and not knowing what to do. This change in the image in the client's subconsciousness is showing how she perceived her dad as a young man unable to support himself, let alone a wife and a young child. Then I tell her to ask the infant how she felt when she looked at the circle with the consciousness of alcohol. She leans back as though she's physically dodging something nasty, as if she's being repelled by it. I ask her why she's being repelled by alcohol, and she says she considers it dangerous. It doesn't match her frequency, and so it just repels her body.
It's scary.
As we now have a good lay of the land and understand how she and that young wounded infant feels about the whole situation, it's time to go and do the healing work by giving self-directed compassion so we can facilitate some change. So just taking a deep breath in and just taking your focus and your awareness down to your heart space and send warm, loving, heartfelt energy across your whole body, across your whole being, across your whole energy field, across all time, space and realities, and across the figure eight. And just repeat after me. I'm so sorry you felt so split.
I'm so sorry you felt so split.
I'm so sorry it was so scary when you were born.
I'm so sorry it was so scary when you were born.
I'm so sorry you were so afraid when you were born.
I'm so sorry you were so afraid when you were born.
I'm so sorry he can't support you.
I'm so sorry he can't support you.
I'm so sorry he can't even support himself.
I'm so sorry he can't even support himself. No. I feel guilt and pity to say that.
I'm so sorry you feel guilty for judging him.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, that makes me. Yeah, I'm so sorry you feel guilty for judging him.
I'm so sorry he wasn't the person you wanted him to be. She chokes back on the tears as she struggles to repeat these words. With just a few phrases, we've hit a very deep wound within her heart. Here lies her disappointment. He was never the man she wanted him to be, and thus creating the belief that this is true for all men.
I'm so sorry he wasn't the person you wanted him to be.
Almost crying, she adds that she still feels so much guilt about judging her dad, and so I ask her to give herself more self-directed compassion around this. I'm so sorry you feel so guilty.
I'm so sorry you feel so guilty.
I'm so sorry he let you down from the very beginning.
I'm so sorry he let you down from the very beginning.
I'm so sorry he chose them over you.
I'm so sorry he chose them over you and your mother.
I'm so sorry he chose them over her.
I'm so sorry he chose them over her.
I'm so sorry his choices caused so much pain.
I'm so sorry his choices caused so much pain.
I'm so sorry he didn't even realize how much pain he was causing.
I'm so sorry he didn't even realize how much pain he was causing.
Her voice broke, almost as if she could no longer hold the tears back, and then she says,
I feel so sorry for him too, like.
I'm so sorry the alcohol disconnected him from who he truly was.
I'm so sorry the alcohol disconnected him from who he truly was.
I'm so sorry he needed alcohol to have a good time.
I'm so sorry he needed alcohol to have a good time.
In the same breath, she added,
I'm so sorry he needed alcohol to forget.
I watched and I waited and held the space as she continued to process all that she was feeling in this moment.
The guilt.
I'm so sorry you had to be the one to deliver the truth.
I'm so sorry you had to be the one to deliver the truth.
I'm so sorry your disappointment is overwhelming.
I'm so sorry your disappointment is overwhelming.
I'm so sorry that alcohol made him blind.
I'm so sorry that alcohol made him blind.
I'm so sorry the alcohol turned him into another person.
I'm so sorry the alcohol turned him in another person.
We see so far in this session how much damage a single event at the earliest stages of our life can actually affect us long into our adult life and even into our older age. The client's belief that men are reliable and unsupportive literally stems from when she was that infant. She continues to allow this to affect her childhood and this belief to be solidified further. We also see how quick she was to dismiss that the earliest memory of hers didn't mean much, whereas it did. She didn't trust what she has been shown. She didn't trust herself. This is something a lot of us can do. We dismiss events and occurrences in our lives simply because we feel uncomfortable acknowledging them. And as she goes deeper into the compassion phrases, she starts to allow herself to feel all of these emotions that she'd kept aside before. She allows herself to feel the disappointment in her dad, seeing his inability to really support her. She realizes just how much she wanted to be free from her father's mistakes and his bad decisions, and she makes space for forgiveness and grace. She realizes that her dad was stuck in his addiction of alcohol as a young man, really struggling to support himself and just using alcohol to hide the pain of his own abuse as a child. In this next part, we'll see that the client actually remembers her father had suffered from sexual abuse and how she had taken on his pain and his belief that he was not a real man because of what had happened. Of course, this is not true, but when we have these signals emitting as frequencies in our field, we validate them in our own reality. In this case, because her dad had not resolved his pain from being sexually abused, he was sending out this message that he wasn't a real man because of it. And so his daughter picked up on it, and when she saw him not behaving what she considered to be a real man, she locked in on it. This is called interlocking karma, when we find ourselves entangled in other programs. The medicine here is awareness. This is always the first step. You see, when we become aware of a belief system, this gives us the opportunity to change it, which is exactly what we're going to do in this next part. Through observing her dad in that circle, she was basically seeing how much suffering he himself had been through. And this allowed her to feel more forgiveness, allowed that forgiveness to shine through. While she doesn't agree that it gives him the right to not treat her well, she does still feel the guilt about judging him because of all he's been through. I tell her to take a deep breath as we send more warm, loving compassion to that infant who's still feeling wounded. I'm so sorry you took on his pain.
I'm so sorry you took on his pain.
I'm so sorry you took on his sorrow.
I'm so sorry you took on his sorrow.
I'm so sorry he couldn't handle what happened.
I'm so sorry he couldn't handle what happened.
I'm so sorry he needed alcohol to forget.
I'm so sorry he needed alcohol to forget and to not feel.
I'm so sorry he thought it was safer to not feel.
I'm so sorry he thought it was safer to not feel.
I'm so sorry he believed he was not a real man because of what happened.
I'm so sorry he believed he was not a real man.
And here we reach the crescendo. She breaks down in tears and struggles to regain composure for a while. I remind her to breathe and that she's doing amazing. The breath is a wonderful tool. Just taking 6 deep breaths in through the nose and all the way down to the belly, it helps us calm the nervous system and drop back into our body, drop back into the present. I repeat the statements as she's asked me to, and she continues amidst tears and the sniffles.
I'm so sorry if he believed he was not a real man because of what happened.
She starts to sob, and shoulders shaking whilst struggling to wipe the tears running down her face with the back of her palm. These tears are exactly what's needed to give the pain movement, to give the pain a channel to exit the body so that it no longer affects her and she no longer holds on to it. I'm so sorry you judged him for that.
I'm so sorry. Charges him for that.
She says this crying and finishes with a gasp and then a huge exhale. I'm so sorry that happened to him.
I'm so sorry that happened to him.
I'm so sorry that happened to you.
I'm so sorry that happened to you.
I'm so sorry he never took responsibility for his pain.
I'm so sorry he never took responsibility for his pain.
I'm so sorry he never took responsibility for his healing.
I'm so sorry he never took responsibility for his healing.
I'm so sorry he just swept all his problems under the carpet.
I'm so sorry he swept all his problems under the carpet.
I'm so sorry you had to be the one to do the work.
I'm so sorry you had to be the one to do the work.
This has been a huge release for the client, as we've just seen. She has viscerally felt the pain that her dad felt from his abuse. She's experienced disappointment and judgment and picked up on his own low self-esteem, believing he was not a real man. But finally, looking at it, by witnessing it and allowing that pain to move through her body and her to feel the feelings. And as she was able to do that, she was able to release all those negative emotions through the tears that she was crying. This is what gives the space for change and for the images in the field to have a new perspective. And let's just check back in with that infant. Ask her how she's feeling and let me know what she says. And what does she believe about herself?
That she came for doing big things.
And what does she believe about real men?
You have never met one real man.
She further explains that the image of a real man takes the form of a Native American, one who acts from the heart, but whilst still staying a bit wild. And what does she believe about the world?
That it needs a lot of healing. It's okay, it's super dark, and it will turn out all good, but it needs a lot of healing.
Okay, and let's just turn our attention to the circle with Mom in it. What do you notice about that circle? She explains that her mother was super unhappy, as she was still very much in love with her father. She says there was a lot of loneliness in the circle containing her mom, and she was unable to give the full attention to her infant self because of her own pain. We also check back in on the circle with the dad and his drunk friends to see what she's noticed. She lets a little laugh out and then adds, "They all sit quietly and listen." What else do you notice?
But my father is the unadapted one, like the other ones are sitting and listening, and my father keeps on making jokes.
She stops, as if watching the whole picture unfold in her mind's eye. And then she mutters, "He's so insecure." She then goes quiet again. I finally ask that she checks the circle with the consciousness of alcohol and to tell me what she notices.
That it has a lot of power.
Then she adds that it didn't have any power over her, but over her parents and others who didn't really know any better. And how do you feel when you look at that circle of alcohol?
A bit arrogant. I'm on a high horse looking really down to alcohol.
She admits she was once hooked by alcohol at a point in her life, both from her parents, but she realized that it wasn't good for her and she quit. She settled on a moment from her memories where her dad had forced her to drink alcohol. I asked that she bring forth this moment and then asked how old she was at the time. She replied she was about 7 years old. She starts to replay the moments in her mind and fill me in on additional details. She talks about how they would always have Chinese food and the family would usually have it with some beers. She does confess that as she got older, Chinese and a good beer was a great combination, and I couldn't help but laugh at that. We both agreed it was a good combination, but just not for a 7-year-old. She remembers how her dad always encouraged her to try out a beer whenever they were having Chinese food, which was often. I asked her what had happened in the first moment when she had had the taste of alcohol. She said she had noticed a severe change in her behavior whenever alcohol was in her system, and that was one of the big reasons why she didn't like it.
that I couldn't believe that he gave this to his child.
She continues, saying what makes it even worse was the fact that other adults present had made it all into an innocent situation. We drew another loop attached to the figure eight, making space for another early version of herself, that 7-year-old that was wounded and also needed to receive compassion. Once the 7-year-old was there, I told her to ask that younger self how she was doing. Let's get some information and to let me know what she says.
What? Confused.
She says, reliving the first moment she had tasted that beer. She emphasizes that her 7-year-old self had found the taste of beer to be ugly and super bitter. She couldn't even finish the whole glass she had been given. And what does she believe about the world?
Fucking lunatics. Scary place, man. Dark place. Also joy. There's also joy, but also...
This memory is another fine example of her dad continuing to be a disappointment to her. That thread had continued from when she was an infant to when she had been 7 years old. She finds him a lunatic, underpinned by the earlier belief system she had created when she was younger. And as always, we send some self-directed compassion to that 7-year-old who's wounded to help give those feelings movement and untangle her from that pain. Okay, so just taking a deep breath in and out and just taking your focus and your awareness down to your heart area. Just send warm, loving, heartfelt energy across your whole body, your whole being, across your energy field, across all time, space and realities. And just send warm, loving, heartfelt energy to that younger self, the 7-year-old on the other side of the figure eight. And say, I'm so sorry you were born into the wrong family.
I'm so sorry you were born into the wrong family.
I'm so sorry you were born with a bunch of lunatics.
I'm so sorry you were born with a bunch of lunatics.
I'm so sorry they thought dangerous things were so innocent.
I'm so sorry they thought dangerous things were so innocent.
I'm so sorry you're confused.
I'm so sorry you're confused.
I'm so sorry your belly told you it was wrong, but the adults were telling you it was right.
I'm so sorry your belly told you it was wrong, but the adults said it was right.
I'm so sorry you feel split.
I'm so sorry you feel split.
I'm so sorry they didn't have boundaries.
I'm so sorry they didn't have boundaries.
I'm so sorry they forced you to do something you didn't want to.
I'm so sorry they forced you to do something you didn't want to.
I repeat the phrase again so that she can say it in exactly the same way I did. But again, she ends up with, he didn't want to. And I point that out to her. You see, there's no mistakes, and she acknowledges this as an error, but then also adds that the statement feels true to her. So we were always along the right path. Isn't that funny? I'm so sorry he made something dangerous seem so innocent.
I'm so sorry he made something so dangerous seemed to be so innocent. Yeah. Lunatic.
I'm so sorry he was such a lunatic.
I'm so sorry he was such a lunatic.
I'm so sorry he made you feel unsafe.
I'm so sorry he made you feel unsafe.
I'm so sorry he didn't listen to what you had to say.
I'm so sorry he didn't listen to what you had to say.
I'm so sorry your points of view didn't count.
I'm so sorry your point of view didn't count.
I'm so sorry what you felt didn't matter.
I'm so sorry what you felt didn't matter.
I'm so sorry you had to do what he wanted to do, even if it was unsafe.
I'm so sorry you had to do what he had to do, even it was unsafe.
Here's another thread that we uncover. Her dad, her model of what a man should be, is doing something unsafe to an innocent child. And this was where another belief system had been created for her, which plays out in her later life, as she mentioned at the beginning of our session. I'm so sorry alcohol contains so much darkness.
I'm so sorry alcohol contains so much darkness.
I'm so sorry when you're in its grips, you can't get out.
I'm so sorry when you're in a script, you can't go out.
I'm so sorry alcohol is so sneaky.
I'm so sorry alcohol is so sneaky.
I'm so sorry it changes you a little bit at a time, but it turns out to be a lot.
I'm so sorry it changes you a little bit at a time, but it turned out to be a lot.
I'm so sorry that change was never for the better.
I'm so sorry that change was never for the better.
I'm so sorry alcohol would just hide who you truly are.
I'm so sorry alcohol would just hide who you truly are.
I'm so sorry alcohol would just hide who he truly was.
I'm so sorry alcohol hide who he truly was.
I'm so sorry alcohol betrayed you.
I'm so sorry alcohol betrayed you.
I'm so sorry alcohol betrayed her.
I'm so sorry alcohol betrayed her.
I'm so sorry alcohol's such a good control mechanism.
I'm so sorry alcohol is such a good control mechanism.
I'm so sorry alcohol leaves you so lonely.
I'm so sorry alcohol leaves you so lonely.
And just taking a deep breath in and out. And let's just check back in with that 7-year-old. How's she feeling? She nods her head severely, as if liking the image she was seeing.
She's light. She feels good. Better.
I'm always so amazed how these words, simple words of compassion, can dissolve these dense energies and make real changes as to how one feels. Remember, when we change how we feel, we change how we think. When we change how we think, we change our reality. And what about the infant?
She's there with very big eyes.
What does that mean? She laughs as she says, "Curious." She further explains that the infant keeps watching herself and the 7-year-old with so much curiosity, as though wondering how everything is going to unfold. As we approach the end of the session time, I start to guide towards that ever-important section of integrating. It's not always possible to get to a place where the younger selves are feeling super happy and at a super high vibration. Being neutral is just as good and just as important. We have uncovered some deep hidden beliefs, and it's also important to allow some space for the client to do separate self-reflection and processing on what's been surfaced. Rome was never built in a day, and neither are healing sessions. And so just ask the infant, what does she need to feel safe so that we can integrate her today?
She don't want to feel guilty anymore. So what she needs is the confirmation that she doesn't have to carry what is from other people.
Okay. And what about the 7-year-old? What does she need to integrate today?
She's okay.
She feels good? She explains that the 7-year-old now feels capable of handling herself. She was in a good place. And so we agreed to do the last couple of phrases together. So just taking a deep breath in and out, and just dropping down to your heart space area and send warm, loving, heartfelt energy across throughout your whole being, your whole body, your whole energy field, throughout all time, space and realities, and across to your younger selves, and say, I'm so sorry you thought you had to carry all their burdens.
I'm so sorry you thought you had to carry all their burdens.
I'm so sorry you thought you had to carry all their pain.
I'm so sorry you thought you had to carry all their pain.
I'm so sorry you didn't realize all you had to do was let it go.
I'm so sorry you didn't realize all you had to do was let it go.
I'm so sorry you didn't realize it was now safe to say no.
I'm so sorry you didn't realize it was now safe to say no.
So I'm so sorry you didn't realize that saying no right now, it really means no.
I'm so sorry you didn't realize that no is actually means no. Yeah.
I'm so sorry you thought that your voice doesn't matter.
I'm so sorry you thought that your voice doesn't matter.
I'm so sorry you thought you would never be heard.
I'm so sorry you thought you would never be heard.
I'm so sorry you gave up on yourself for a little while.
I'm so sorry you gave up on yourself for a little while.
I'm so sorry you thought bad things could cause good things.
I'm so sorry you thought bad things could cause good things.
I'm so sorry your blessings always came in a disguise.
So sorry your blessings came always in disguise.
I'm so sorry life isn't easy for you.
I'm so sorry life isn't easy for you.
I'm so sorry you weren't ready to deal with all of your pain yet.
I'm so sorry you weren't ready to deal with all of your pain yet.
I'm so sorry he wasn't ready to deal with all of his pain yet.
I'm so sorry he wasn't ready to deal with all of his pain yet.
I'm so sorry she wasn't ready to deal with all of her pain yet.
I'm so sorry she wasn't ready to deal with all of her pain yet.
I'm so sorry there's never any happy endings.
I'm so sorry there's never any happy endings.
She goes silent for a second before declaring,
I need a happy ending now.
We both laugh, and she goes on to tell me that all of a sudden, this elephant appears in her mind's eye. It had come from a fairy tale in a book that she used to read when she was little. This elephant always used to use his trumpet to blow negativity away. She's connecting to a safe space when she was younger, and this is important because that's what her infant has needed, to feel safe as we integrate. Excellent. So just imagine that elephant with, is it a male elephant or a female elephant?
This is a male. This is a real male elephant,
she says excitedly. So imagine this elephant steps into the field as a real masculine energy, and he walks in with his wisdom and his calmness and his gentleness fully balanced, but also in his power.
I'm on his back,
she says, smiling from ear to ear, loving every moment of the story that is now unfolding in her imagination. I laugh at the beauty of it all, and then I ask her to direct the elephant to face the circle that has the alcohol. She lets out a little laugh of victory.
He's blowing that circle of alcohol into Saint Germain's violet flame.
Fantastic. And so you just watch the consciousness of alcohol all disappear, all that density goes back into the light, clear, 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 powerless, all dissolved. I give her a few seconds to let it all settle in before moving on, telling her to guide the elephant now towards the circle with her dad, seeing as though she chose to focus upon him first. Okay, so you just guide the elephant towards the circle with your dad and just whisper in the elephant's ear what he needs to do.
I tell the elephant to blow all the bad situations to the flame, violet flame, but keep the good memories. Bring on the good memories.
Beautiful. So you just imagine that elephant with his trunk, he just blows like the elephant sound. And it blows through your dad, throughout his whole body, throughout his whole being, in his energy field, across all time, space, and realities. And it just blows away the density, unhooks all the programs, unhooks all the unworthiness, unhooks it all. And you see it just like sand or dust being blown away from his light body. And it just gently floats towards into the flame and transmuted into the light by Saint Germain. She sits quietly, eyes closed, gently rocking from side to side with a beautiful, satisfied smile on her face. And now you just turn the elephant towards your mum, circle, and you just whisper in the elephant's ear what it is that he needs to do.
Blow away her unhappiness.
The elephant completes the process and the field is now clear from all negativity. Then finally I guide her to imagine that the infant and the 7-year-old come back to her now. They merge fully within her, allowing her to feel safe in her present day. To get a sense of how she's feeling now, I ask her to repeat the I deserve phrase that we started with one last time, to see if there's been any changes in her mind and in her energy field. I deserve love with a real man and to be fully supported.
I deserve love with a real man and to be fully supported.
She smiles as she rates this statement a solid 8. That's a huge jump from 1 to 10 where she was originally at. And so just hold that 8 out of 10 in your heart. And we thank the angels, the guides, the ascended masters, and the elephants for arriving today and being of grand support. She opens her eyes, smiling all the way from deep within.
Yay! Mish!
At the end of the session, we see her energy completely change from that of a person who was so afraid to now go for what she desired most. We see her liberated from her feelings of guilt towards judging her father, releasing that disappointment in him and his ability to support her in the way she needed him to. She's finally set free from the dark energy of alcohol and all the danger that it represented to her in her life. Now she's someone brave enough to admit that she does deserve both love and support. There's still a lot of things to work on here, but the huge breakthrough for this client is to realize that these hidden beliefs were creating an unrealistic reality in her life right now, ultimately holding her back from allowing her to experience love from a real man. And now it's safe for her to do so. Our thoughts are what we create our reality with, but sometimes we're not aware of what we're subconsciously thinking, and so when we do the work to uncover these and integrate them through forgiveness and understanding, this allows our very thoughts to change and in turn, our reality. It's simply amazing how we can be the solution to our own problems. These sessions offer blueprints to the answers that lie within ourselves and the healing we can access when we just let go and allow ourselves to create that new life. A life without heaviness and untrue programs. If the story resonates with you, then do share a comment below and let me know how. To enjoy more captivating and life-changing stories like this, make sure you subscribe and hit like to be notified of any new videos that we post. And if you're interested in experiencing a similar transformation session, details of how to book a session with me can be found in the comments section below. Let's journey together and uncover and embrace the deeper truths about ourselves. Thank you so much for watching Growing Through Grace. Real stories, real change.